Hello, I'm Walt Bartman, and I'm the founder and director of the Yellow Barn Studio, Glen Echo. And today we are having our judge for the 29th annual Friends of the Yellow Barn Studio Members Show, Trevor Young, join us to discuss his choices for the exhibition. And welcome, Trevor.
Hello. Thank you, Mr. Bartman.
Trevor, we go way back. So if you hear Trevor say Mr. Bartman, that's because I taught Trevor a long time
Yeah.
ago, right? But you know what? From my
Just
experience,
comes out that way.
it's really kind of interesting how these things are. But the thing about Trevor, just so everybody knows, we selected Trevor as our judge because he is one of the top Washington, D.C. artists. He's showing out at the Addison Ripley Gallery, and I know he has galleries in New York and Detroit. And and he'll let you know a little bit more about himself. But I've known him for, I would say, at least 30 years. I would
Yeah,
imagine.
that's right. That's right.
When you first started the Yellow Barn, you were one of the
Yeah.
that helped me get that
Yeah.
started. So we go way back. And then to have Trevor now as our juror, let me just say this. We had Harry Cooper, who
Mm,
head of modern art at the National Gallery. We had Gary
hmm
Mikan, who was head at the Walters Museum, as our
hmm
past judges. We had Paul Sparigan, who
hmm
judged the Vietnam War Memorial, as one of
Yeah.
our judges. And you joined this really experienced group. And truthfully,
Yeah.
Trevor is one of those artists that I could, really want to be a judge here for these shows because of his experience. He works full time, and this is his business. So I'm going to, uh, just say a few other little words about him
hmm
because we go way back. We've shared a lot of different stories. We just
Yeah.
reminiscence here a little bit about some of our times together painting, and I think that
Yeah.
the things that having you now join us, I think really makes a difference. So with
It
that,
means a lot.
turn it over to you, and maybe you can discuss a little bit about yourself,
Okay.
your experiences, and then we'll go take a look at the work, and then
Yeah.
his reasons for the choices that he made for the show. Okay,
hmm
Troy.
I mean, I think there's a definitive moment in our relationship, and I was kind of mentioning this to you the other day, but I was 15 years old, and it was our third class, and we were in the Spanish ballroom, and you put a Matisse up. It was from his apartment and had a little yellow boat. And you said Matisse doesn't paint the boat white because somebody painted the boat white. He paints it yellow so you can see the excitement of the sun. And I happened to have two tubes of yellow Beaucourt in my box, and I was dying to use them. So my rationalization is like, I'm going to go find some sun. I'm putting yellow where the sun is because I was adopting this idea, and I ran out of the Spanish ballroom. And I was like, going to find some sun. I thought it was going to be a patch of grass, but I actually saw sun on the side of the creek. And I don't know if you remember, the creek had been recently rebuilt. The bridge was new. So it was like the first time I ever crossed the bridge, too. Because remember, it got washed out and because of the hurricane. And I went down there below the bridge and I made a little palette and I painted the bridge in and I used my cadmium yellow light and cadmium yellow medium. I still remember it. I still remember how I did it. And I said, I'm practicing fauvism. And and I got up, I climbed out. I actually saw you coming. I said, okay, I think this painting's finished. I had the urge to want to work on it some more, but I saw you coming. So I was like, going to show it to you. You were walking with two students. And I said, hey, Mr. Bartman. And you said, Trevor, you are a painter. And at that minute, you locked in fauvism to me. I mean, it was like, I practiced fauvism and it works. Like I did it, practice of painting yellow. I have a saying, yellow is golden, meaning you used to say, use yellow, it activates your painting. You should have it in the painting. And I've always observed how you used it. And I practiced fauvism. And for years, I thought of myself as a fauvist in the sense like I would go to a location to paint a landscape, but often I would choose a sense of the color, how I felt. Like when I went into paint, when I would like as a early 20s, I go paint in Roslyn, I felt a bluish coldness to the environment there. So I would choose a blue palette based on a sense of feeling and color. And that was locked in. It gave me a lot of freedom. I think that's sense of realism is quite boring. You have to actually turn the EQ up on certain sensations that you feel, and it helps you stay busy too because I'll take a very boring situation and I'll paint it in a way that'll surprise me, and I'm like, no, I'm into it now. And I think that was the freedom you gave me early on with that moment where I practiced it. You confirmed it, and then I said, well, this is what I am. I'm a phobist, and I gave me freedom.
Yeah, and what's interesting, I remember these stories, so it's really kind of, you would think that these aren't important, but they are important
Yeah, yeah.
as well. And seeing you grow as an artist now, I know that you're showing at the Addison Ripley Gallery, and that's quite an honor as well, because it's one of the
It
better in
is.
Washington. And I think that the interesting body of work, you do a lot with industrial scenes, right? Is there a reason that you choose that
Well,
as your subject?
well, it was the first subject I chose. I mean, I always preferred the architecture. In fact, early on, you used to complain about how I wouldn't put enough stuff around the industrial stuff. I'd be like, I'm just only into this. And you'd be like, put more in the background. I'm like, I think that's how I came to night painting, and then night painting we had gas station painters at our school. I remember Dale Chu and Eric Butters did some gas station posters or calendar. But I mean, I went out at night and did them at night because I liked the minimalism of it and the darkness and the severity. And what happened was I went into this long period of painting where I said, I'm taking out all nature out of my paintings. I'm going to take all nature out of my paintings. And I took nature out of my paintings. I created these really intense places based on architecture, often with very classical structures. And if there was a diagonal, it was a very soft diagonal. I hate diagonals that are relevant to the space. And then what happened was I decided I needed to paint nature again. And I painted nature like how I might paint an industrial thing. But I hadn't started painting the industrial things yet because I wanted to add clouds, and I realized my hand was too heavy. So I adopted a kind of new way of painting, because it's hard to describe, but I painted so many of these intense, bleak kind of, people call them bleak. I call them hideous beauty, but places that I was too heavy. So I started painting nature back in, and I did the nature more delicate, meaning when I painted the structure, I painted the structure with a different attitude. And then when I painted nature, I used more of a Dutch way of touching just a little bit, and to make it complementary, I guess. And so for me, when I paint the industrial places, I'm really into the clouds and how delicate the clouds are. And I also love the severity of the architecture as a complementary situation. And I think ultimately you take something quite ugly and make it beautiful. It's compelling. So I choose the palette in these places for what I think the color is, not necessarily what's reality. And I create an atmosphere that may not existed, or some kind of mood, like a dystopian place. But again, it has to be compelling.
And you've been doing that. I guess there was a period where I saw your work change. It was like in 2009 or 2011,
Sure. Mm-hmm.
where all of a sudden you
Yeah.
took off on this. It's funny when you hear Richard Dieben's, stories of Richard Diebencourt and how he was just taking an airline flight, and all of a sudden his whole way of looking at painting and space totally
Yeah.
changed. All right, and
Yeah. Yeah.
you have a lot of aerial views in your pieces.
I do.
The ones that really really are mesmerizing for me. There's one and I can't remember the name of it, though I showed it to my students, with sort of a blood red vibration of
Yeah.
street lights from above. Do you know what
Yeah.
that?
I think it could be Glittering Tide. It could be. I have a few called Glittering Tide. I mean, I like the idea that, like, I don't know how it comes to be, and I don't. It could have been from the Martin Scorsese movie Casino, but when I saw that as like in my early teens, or even I was like 11, there's a scene where they show them zooming in from above into the city of Las Vegas, but it's clearly a diorama, meaning it's lit, like it's so perfect. And the camera comes in and zooms in on it. And I was like, and the immense blackness around it was so, I mean, I've always loved the contrast of black on everything. And I was like, whoa. And naturally, I saw that so many times. And at one point, I was like, well, I can paint the world from my consciousness. I've seen it from above enough. I have a sense of how it works. And so I basically made these abstract paintings based on a sense of color, often glazing and doing transparency, and then getting more and more opaque and heavier at the end. So kind of in a Dutch way, where I start out with all the light, and then I glaze down, and then I put the highlights back over top of that. And they capture the light. I mean, there's a lot of transparency, and I love when you go up and you look across the earth. You're flying across America or someplace, and you don't see anything for a little while, and then it's incredible, like how there's like an ether. And we used to talk about the ether or the darkness in a painting, like it doesn't mean there's nothing there, but it's vague. You know, you don't define it. It just has to float there. And you don't want it to be active. And I always got into that. So inside of those paintings, I like the idea that I have really quiet marks, and then I have other marks that say attention. The first time I ever saw that was in a Whistler painting, and I think I adopted a Whistlerian approach very early on about editing. You know, in his 10 o'clock lecture, he talks about edit nature. And I adopted that to be more minimal. You know, you have to take, he recommends taking everything out basically to what his bare essence of this experience is.
The essence. You have a website, right?
I do. TrevorYoung.net.
Okay, TrevorYoung.net. So people can go and view your work.
Mm-hmm.
And if anybody's interested in your work, certainly they can get in touch with you. All right.
Sure. Mm-hmm.
I think that's it. So I guess, you know, now looking at what we're going to be doing, this was great because it gave the community here an opportunity to see who you are. I mean, Trevor speaks really from the heart. I mean, honestly, he's not somebody who's a follower. He really is somebody who has a great understanding of both influences, but also his own perspective and how important it is for, you know, things that inspire him. That's what we're seeing with I think the success in his work is it is personal, and there's nobody like you, not that I can see. All right, so
I do my own thing. Yes.
yeah. So I think that this is one of the things for everybody to recognize. Viewing yourself now as a juror, all right. How was how was your take on looking at this? You know, we had almost 180 works, I believe.
Yeah. Wow.
Right? You narrowed it down to like 70, 71 or 70, and
75 in that range. Yeah.
And how was
I
that?
loved it. I was so ingratiated by your offer, so I took it really seriously, and I kind of feel like I'm going back to the homeland, you know, of like fauvism, and ultimately you always, you know, in the optimal sense of a painter, freshness and light rules, you know, like everything comes after that. And I think freshness comes first because the freshness is a kind of awkwardness, an elegance, a confidence, but it's communicated to the viewer that you had some confidence making it. You can't, it's like you could have great light, but the mark can be neutered or flaccid, or, you know, I call it the MMM, the mindless masturbatory mark. Like there's a kind of sense of touching, and then there's a sense of touching. And as painting as a verb, as an action, I love seeing it. I think, you know, the 3 M's I was saying about that is something where we dial out and we just like, maybe we're not conscious for a minute. We all do it. You know, we just kind of get familiar with the paint and we lose important parts. And I think it's really important for the painter to get into the painting, be savage and fresh, especially in the beginning, because you can't get that back. And then you kind of tighten up edges. And you used to say sharper shapes, Trevor, sharper shapes, because I used to always wait to tighten my stuff up because I was like, I don't know what edge, this edge or this edge. Like, so there's a kind of sense of the right tensions and the shapes and the edges coming, but a square shouldn't be equal in all parts. It should go into the space. And sometimes the light where it's brightest, the object is least sharp nearby it. So there's a sense that light doesn't make objects sharper. It actually dissolves space, and night dissolves space, and darkness dissolves space. So I'm really into the coming and goings of space. And with that, I love the mark. And all the finalists had beautiful marks. And I think that light is the second one, which is kind of like, we look at Vincent van Gogh and he goes, oh, we love his freshness. He's so bright and golden. And it's like, but also he got out of his painting in time and didn't mindlessly touch it. Meaning we think he's so brilliant because he used bright colors. It's actually his discipline to get out of the painting that makes him so powerful. You know, he didn't just keep mindlessly painting. So at some point, the painter has to get out of the painting with some resolution. And I look for that. I think that like, you shouldn't be too tied to one work. You have to be like, well, I'm going to make another one, so I'll look at this another time and disengage. Or like, we used to talk about this Francis Bacon quote where David Sylvester goes, "What are your favorite parts of your work?" And Francis Bacon goes, "I can't stop touching them. You'll never see them." Like it's like that sense. It's a little bit of discipline. So I look at a painting, I need to see some discipline, but also liberty and freedom inside of the activity. And then comes the light with that. And the light, we were talking about using pure colors like yellow and golden colors, you naturally want to touch them more. Like yellow excites you, and then it feels too bright, and you'll just kill it because it's such a delicate, fragile color at times. So I kind of look for preservation of beautiful saturation, freshness, discipline to get out of the painting. Even if it was a little awkward, I still like that over a kind of sense of completion. And I also like vagueness. I love a kind of vagueness in a work. Like I don't need illustration. I think in the category of painting, and this is a thing, like illustration can not have light in it. I mean, Andy Warhol does illustrations. He's illustrating famous people and the colors don't make a window. But then other aspects, the mystery comes in. I think for mystery to exist in the painting, you actually have to go into it. You actually go into the world, and you have to have light, in my opinion, to have that that sensation of the window. You're going into it, and I think you go into the light, you go into the mood, the sensations, and you want to go there. I like the sensations of going into a light. It could be 3 inches deep, or it could be a mile deep. This window, but you actually have to have a kind of relationship in the palette. Gives us that non-image second. Something else that's mysterious comes about. And I think it's vague. I think there's a vagueness to painting. Like I don't think more defines the quality of the painting. I think it's something else. I think it's the rhythm of the touching and the color mixing with that.
Yeah, I think you're right. And when we looked at your picks, you had quite a variety. So it's interesting what what you were looking for with each one of them. So I think this will give us at least a start now. And is there anything else that you want to say?
No, I mean, I feel it's good. I think that's, I mean, it's how simple it is.
So
I mean,
you put priority. Yeah. You put priority in the paint itself.
Oh yeah,
Over
surface.
Over the.
I definitely zoomed in. I would say this. I zoomed in on a lot of these paintings and looked over the areas because ultimately the painting that won had so many interesting little choices in it. I loved how I could see like every once in a while she was doing this, in other areas she was caressing, and then she did this. I mean, I could see a spirit of the artist in the surface, and I think that's more interesting than any kind of imagery. Meaning, I could see her rhythm, and it was funny because I turned the computer off. I looked every few days, and I would screen shoot the ones that were getting closer and closer to the final, and I would close, and I remembered that painting because there was a sense of geometry in it. There was like a kind of frontality and flatness to it. And then we looked over the table into the second space. So I looked at the table, and then my consciousness went over the edge in a way. And maybe it even went out the window. And then seeing how large the painting is, I found that was very satisfying because it's quite a nice size painting.
Yeah. I think your choices, when you look at the what we might call the knowledge in the paint, I think that's the main.
That's true.
Your main focus. I think that each judge that we have comes with a different kind of way of thinking. That's why each year we try to come up with varieties of ways of thinking from different judges. And I think you have a unique way for sure. Okay, so let's go ahead and do this. Let's do it. We're gonna take a look at the work here. We're just gonna start right here. I think you're seeing.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Normalize this. This is Marianne Debrino's book. So
this is a painting that's much better in real life and could benefit from some varnish. And I could, if you want to contact me, I'll tell you the varnish recipe I recommend. When you work with so many darks, and I thought there was a really nice, delicate painting. I could see the caressing in the surface, and a lot of nice elements in it, but it looks much better in person, much better.
And it, I mean, this is sort of a typical scene that we both experienced together because we love night painting.
We love night painting,
Karen Epstein's work.
Yeah.
Here. And we're just going to go. And if you have anything to say about...
I like this painting. Obviously, we talked about this painting. First of all, I love cat paintings. I love cats. It's got a little Gwen John in it. I also like this little Ad Reinhardt too. It's a nice little painting. That's a not a nice. It's big actually, medium size. It's very nice.
Yeah, and it's this is Craig Emeralds.
Yeah, I know. I like that painting a lot.
So then the next one, Kim Engel,
Yeah, nice painting. It's good light, good sun.
a beautiful.
Yeah.
I think you're right.
Oh yeah, great light. I like this imagination. I think when sometimes we see reflections on the street, you can either turn them up or turn them down. I've seen a lot of night paintings that we used to paint from the street growing up. I mean, we would look up like River Road and there'd be like a 90-yard like single zip of light going down the hill over there. I think when you interpret the night, I think you have to use abstraction, and that you really can't illustrate the night. You have to kind of. This is not a lot either, but look at the imagination that's in play here. So I liked it for its beautiful saturation, its rhythm. It's got a lot of nice elements in it. If this painting was like 2 feet bigger, I would love it a lot more. It's smaller, but it's like if I was standing in front of a painting that wide, I love that kind of rhythm, the abstraction. It's very nice.
And then this is Reina Garros.
That's a very nice painting also. I like the palette in this. This has got a nice confident mark. If you notice, the edges are dissolving and coming and going. It's not local at all. There's like a kind of lot of imagination in this color and a lot of spirit. This looks very much like a painter painted it. I like it very much.
Okay, and then this is Anne
Mm.
Roselli's.
I like yellow. If there was more yellow paintings, I would have put them in the show. I think that I think when I see a young artist or a middle-aged artist or any artist in any stage use yellow and not neuter it, because I think people neuter yellow so often in their paintings, they can't resist it. So I liked it for its saturation.
Okay, and then the next one is John Lowe.
Mm. I was fond of this painting. It kind of felt like a film vignette. And if you know, I like a lot of mid-century concepts in my work. I love photography. I refer to photographers in my work all the time. I thought this was a very nice painting. It didn't make it into the honorable mentions, but I thought about it a lot. I like the horizontal nature of it. I like how they're all stuck together. There's a little mystery in this work. I think ultimately it's the mystery, and I also like the delta. I love the kind of postmodern emptiness, or modernist emptiness, and it's a nice painting. I like this, and look good in real life too. I like it.
Right, and then the next one is Jenny Wilson's.
Yes. I like this. This is a big painting. It's not super saturated, but it's very painterly. There's a lot of nice construction. Looks like palette knives, and just a painter painted this. There's a lot of mark making in it.
And then this is Anne Reed's.
Now, this painting looks much better in person. I didn't love this painting when I saw it. When I saw it in the studio, in the gallery, I thought it looked much more natural, and I found it much more satisfying. But I still liked it. But I saw the difference between the two building colors. Like I don't see them as high contrast, but they were actually more contrasting, and I thought it's quite successful in person.
Yeah, I agree with you, because I saw this one. It's funny how, of course, we had to do your judging online, and
Yeah.
sometimes whenever you see the paintings, how surprised you are, because
Yeah. Yeah.
there's
This one is a little washed out, maybe.
yeah. Okay, and then this is
Uh, this is a very satisfying. Sometimes I say this and people think it's derogatory, but I actually mean it in a compliment. Like a toilet should have a painting this beautiful hanging above it to take us away for a minute. Meaning, if I walked up and had a moment to relax, I would be excited by the palette here and the stability of it. And I love the cloud awkwardly over on one side reflecting the pattern. I mean, this is a good painting. I like it for its pure saturation, its mark making. I mean, this is the kind of painting you should look at for like 30 seconds during the day to wake you up a little bit,
and this is a gouache. You picked a number of gouaches, as a matter
Yeah,
of
and yes, and some pastels too. A couple pastels, perhaps. I don't remember. But yes, I think all painting, I mean, painting is an action, it's a verb. And if it's painterly, if it's painterly and I see the artist in it, or anybody sees artists, it's naturally exciting, no matter what the medium.
Yeah. And then this one is Mary.
Hmm. I liked this painting, and it didn't get into the higher levels because it wasn't very large. But I looked at this painting close up, and I liked the handling. I liked it. Had not to compare it totally to Nicholas de Shaw, but it has a little landscape in it. But it had a kind of like grittiness to it and a beauty to it. I felt like it was a landscape. Obviously, it has a sense of a landscape, and I liked it. I mean, if it was a little larger, it would have excited me a little bit more because that's my sense. I like it. One time, it's funny, going back many years ago, Mr. Barberman, we were in the classroom, and Brandon Garrett used to do these big paintings, and Jim Rohal was like, they're too big, and Dale Chu said, do you go to the movie theater with the biggest screen or the littlest screen? And I was like, oh shit, like big paintings, but
But you're right
so
about this one. This one reads, it's a small little painting, but it reads large.
yeah,
It just has that monumental feel to it.
it does have that. And I had to look at the size because I was like, this, if it was a couple, it had another 20 or it had another 20 inches on it, it would be in a different category of how I thought about it, because I wanted to stand inside of this painting.
Mm-hmm. And that's a good point, which people, when you're talking about seeing the paintings larger, you have a different way of experiencing the painting because of it.
Yes.
You're exactly right. You become enveloped by it if it's large enough. And then Scott Davis's.
I like this. I mean, there's a simple rhythm to this. I like the fact that this is one of the things about this painting that makes it so successful is actually the nature of the hill and the angle. And the left side is not like the right side. So there's a kind of nice, gentle contrast from the left to the right side. So the left side is very much foreground, and it kind of vanishes off to the right side. Very good construction, beautiful mark making. That's another painting you have to hang in some place that you have to look every single day. I mean, it will reduce stress,
Yeah.
It's a very nice painting.
What's interesting about this, Trevor, as soon as I saw this painting, one of the things I realized about it is it's a diptych. It really makes it really makes you
I see that.
Decide. It's not that that line in the middle is such a dividing line, but it is a line that makes for two paintings.
Yes, it does.
Simultaneously. And Scott asked me a little bit about this painting, and that was one of the things that I noticed about it that I particularly like too.
Yeah, it's got good light too. It's a good use of white paint. I think if you look at, the white paint is used somewhat frugally in certain places, and not all the grass gets white in it. So there's a kind of nice sense of the white dissolving in places, but then it gets less white, because a lot of students or painters will go too much with the white, even on both sides. And it's a well-managed rhythmic palette, like this, where the white comes in. It's nice contrast. I like this one.
Yeah. And then let's see, make sure I'm going the right way. No, we're going the wrong way.
By the way, yeah.
So this is Roger Perez's.
Oh, yes. Very nicely painted. I liked it for it has a kind of beautiful, I mean, this painting is not small, it's medium size. It has a nice rhythm in it. I like how it's also very abstract in a way. It has like a kind of top horizon line, a middle space. It has a kind of lack of information, actually, but while being pretty well painted. I mean, it's very nice touch, very good mark maker.
Yeah, I like this one as well, particularly because of the way it's,
I do too.
The way that space was worked.
Yeah, yeah.
And this is Pamela Michaels.
Beautiful palette. I like the freshness. It's kind of imaginative, and I feel like this could look like the painter. Sometimes you see a painting and it looks like the person's in the painting. So, I liked it. It had a quality to it.
Okay. And then this is Julie Kaplan's.
Well, this one looks so much better in the gallery. Like I saw this one in the gallery. This is not a very good image. I guess this is Glencoe Park. It's much richer, less washed out image in person. It's much more saturated, and I liked it.
And then this is Adrian.
Oh yeah. This painting is funny because if I saw this gallery and I was judging paintings in person, I might judge this painting differently. I would walk around and look around the gallery. This one caught my eye all the time. There's something about the lack of, like, one side is it's not balanced. There's a kind of awkwardness and a kind of contrast. I like it. It's kind of, I don't want to say it's like a Yves Tanguy, but there's a kind of dream, like Gauguin, like young Gauguin quality, and how the soft undulation of the figure is inside of the landscape, or maybe it's a dreamscape. There's a kind of extra part. And I really like how in the background, there's a little bit of that sun back there, and it connects us to the red on the other side, and she changes scale. This is actually a really quality painting. I like this painting.
Yeah, I did too.
Very nice. It's a very nice painting.
Okay, and then this is Desmond McCarthy's.
This is so funny. I saw this painting and it had a little bit of Elmer Bischoff, or not Elmer Bischoff. I just liked how the painting was so free and not illustrated. I feel like the painter got in and kind of made it and said, "I'm stopping. I'm getting out while it's fresh. I'm not going to, destroy this." And I respected it for its utter freshness.
Oh, what's funny is this is in Garrett Park, and the last time I had
Yeah,
seen
yeah,
was in Garrett Park. We painted
that's
the
right.
one day. So the next one is Guernay Marguerite.
Garinay from our year. Nice painting. I chose this painting because of the freshness.
Yeah.
I thought the marks were really nice. I love yellow. Again, if in the next 10 years I'm another judge and you want to win, put yellow. I feel like I look over the world of painting and look at works, and I think the yellow is a color that I look forward to seeing because it sometimes delineates a painter from a student painter. I think yellow is a color that Diebenkorn and so many of my favorite painters use all the time. And we say we love Diebenkorn and all the other painters, but we don't use as much yellow as they would use, And I think that the ability, I don't know this, I know Garinay personally, I haven't, know her, been seen her in years, but the idea is like, I don't know what kind of work she's making, but yellow represents a kind of confidence in painters. I love seeing it. I know that's a generality, but yellow is the sun and it's golden, and we only have so many ways of showing the sun. And I think when you show yellow, it's an exciting painting more often than not. I think it works really well. I like the yellow,
Yeah, I agree
a lot
with
of
you.
sensation in it.
This is a
I
beautiful.
remember one time you and I were painting. I mean, I remember so many times you're painting, you're like, and I remember things you're like, you were like, gotta throw some yellow over here. I was like, you gotta slap it in or put it over here. It needs the yellow. I mean, it's like, because like, the painting will go dormant because you will lose the yellow, because the yellow, the light will change at some point. The sun is showing grass to be more golden than it is green sometimes. And even if it isn't, you should sneak it in there.
This is a beautifully touched painting as well.
It is. It is. She's always had a good mark. I mean, Garinay has a good mark.
So then the next one, this is on.
Again, beautiful palette. Very challenging angle. I like that. This is one of the things about this painting that works really well, is the transition of the tree trunk to the top of the tree, meaning the white that is in the bottom part in the temperature adjusts temperature as it goes up. So the painter didn't use the white all the way up and then flip to the white in the background. So there's good temperature contrast in this painting, which gives it a lot of saturation. Another one of these paintings that looks way better in person. It looks good online, but it's a juicy palette.
Mhm. Okay, and then the next one is Hugo Nemer.
Again, yeah.
I guess.
It was saturated, beautiful, vibrant palette. I enjoyed it for its simplicity and almost dreamlike qualities.
Yeah, this is an unusual one stylistically. It
Yes.
had an interesting patterning. The this one, Pamela Betts.
Yeah, my son and I were talking about this painting. My dad, he's like, "Hey, Dad, there's some good painting in this." So when my son hangs out and he's seen it, I was like, "Yeah, there is." He goes, "Look how this rock was painted." I said, "Yeah, it's very nicely painted." Nice space in this painting, simplicity, space. There's atmosphere this day. The rock isn't too sharp, but there's enough sharpness in areas that I can dial in. But the background goes very far away, as if there's like the fog that we have right now. I mean, it's like a kind of cool December fog happening. It's a very nice painting. I also like that it's not asymmetrical. The left side is different so much from the right side, and it has this kind of quality to the contrast. It's very nice.
Beautiful piece. And then this one by Rona Siskine.
This one also, it's funny. I picked this because this composition appeals to me and everything, but I thought it was a much better painting in person, and I was very satisfied that I picked this because it was like, I feel like the color looked a little synthetic to me in the image, or not synthetic, but maybe over mixed. But I thought this is very nice painting, very nice. I like the structure and I like the composition. We look up at this object, very nice.
Okay, and then Kathy Grumman's.
This is very painterly. I mean, again, I love the mark, even if it's not necessarily a depicting of a place. I just love freshness.
Okay, and then this particular one, Verna Eisner.
Freshness, beautiful palette, choices, abstract, but I could also see an aspect of light in this, beautifully marked.
And then Kathy Burns.
Very nice, good light, good structure. I like the elements of it. Very nicely painted. Good structure in this composition.
Okay. And then Central Park by Patricia
You
Tuck.
know, this is a golden painting. You know, I like a golden painting, and I love that these colors don't go to green. They kind of stay more on the yellow side, and I think that's satisfying.
And then Hotel Bar.
It's funny. I like this painting. I actually zoomed in on this painting a lot.
Jennifer Howard, by the way. Somehow
Okay.
they've got this mistake here.
I love the marks. Yeah.
Maybe Jennifer Howard. There may be two Jennifer Howards. Let's keep it.
Oh, okay. It's fresh. It's thick. It's got meat on the surface, and there's a little bit of mixing on the edge. This is one of the thicker paintings that it made it into the show, and I picked it because it has a beautiful surface. I don't need a lot of imagery, but I got a sense of light in it, and I got a lot of the painter in it. There's a nice mark in this painting.
Okay, and then Barbara Goldsmith.
Beautiful rhythm, good patterns. I love the undulation of the trees. Nice. Is this a watercolor? It's a nice painting.
Watercolor.
Yeah, it's nicely handled. I like a lot of elements in it.
Yeah,
also dissolving the background is really nice.
And then this piece.
Oh yeah. This is funny. Now seeing this, when I saw this painting in the, I liked this painting, but again, size matters. And in this situation, it looks so much better in the gallery. And I love seeing it in the gallery. And I was like, oh, that's that painting. It looks like a kind of castle with a light glowing out of the middle of it. I mean, it's an unusual painting. It has a lot of mystery in it. And I like how it's dissolving and coming and going. And again, a lot of mystery.
There are a lot of really good, strong works, honestly. And I know that you spend some time really figuring out who the award winners were.
I did. I wanted. Well, I mean, again, I was reinforcing, I think, what the Yellow Barn's about, freshness and light. I think I wanted to show that. I thought this was a very fresh painting, beautiful palette, and it's a strange painting, and I liked it.
Okay, and then
a little Yves Tanguy. I chose it because it's got an unusual palette and it's fresh.
Okay.
This is a pastel, I think.
Yes,
It's a nice pastel, and I like the layer of space. I like how the geometry is in the foreground, gives us a little bit of deep space, and it's a nice drawing. It's one of the things about looking at pastel behind glass. It kind of sucks, but I got a sense of it when I looked at it in the show. It's very, very, very nicely marked. Very nicely marked.
And then Marion Willinger's.
Oh yeah, I like this painting. A lot of the painter, it seems to be in this painting. I mean, I don't know this person's other work, but saturated, painterly, abstract, but yet I kind of feel like it's a landscape. It's a good painting. So I like the square too. I remember seeing that one on the wall and finding it satisfying to look at. Yeah.
When you judge the shows and you look at the overall nature of the painting, the harmony that you're looking for, what is it that
well, it's a lot. Well, it's like a gradient. There's like a slide bar, like from illustration to mystery. Like painting could have a little bit more illustration in it, but the palette might make up for it. I think it's a culmination of things. Ultimately, I don't like it when a painter over manages the brush mark. I think that the most beautiful thing the painter gives, is the touch. And we should see a sense of confidence or a sense of comfort with it, or not over manicuring it. And I'd like to see some thick and thin. So like the winner, she had a lot of thick and thin in her work. She had a caress here and then a jab and like a slap here, So I think there's all these complements in painting: sharp edges, soft edges, dull colors, saturated colors, horizontals versus, verticals. And then I hate diagonals a lot of times. I think diagonals are often make paintings weaker. So I kind of look at the dualities of all the complements in the painting. And ultimately, I think that I love I love the vitality of the painter in the painting, even if it is under control. I still like in a kind of like in a Whistler night nocturne, like he has a very minimal night scene, but then he gives you this one mark that is like, this is paintings about this one touch.
Right.
Or
Exactly.
it could be about 50 touches, but I want to see, and I think there's another thing too. And after looking at so many paintings, I can look at a painter's work and I can tell where they weren't engaged. You can see the flaccid hand, as I call it. Like,
That's a good point. Right.
you can see the zones they weren't managing and they try to cover it up, but you can see they're not dealing with it. And I can kind of see that in a whole sense of a painting sometimes.
This is Nancy Foster's. We didn't say anything
Very
about.
nice. Yeah, it's a beautiful painting. I like the contrast. I love the drama of the clouds, and it's
Yeah.
a good, solid landscape painting.
Beautiful movement too. That way.
Yeah. Oh yes. Oh yeah.
And Shoshana's single.
Beautiful palette, good echoes and rhythm. It's solid. It's solid.
Okay, and then
Now this painting looks so much better in real life. This image is dreadful to the quality of the painting. The painting is actually quite beautiful. I looked at this one. I was like, oh, this is way better in real life. There might be some glare in some of this. This painting's much richer in person. I like this painting. I just liked it for its mark making. I love the sense of putting down paint, and it looks like something kind of composition that I like to engage in. I love a long horizontal kind of with reflections and stuff like that.
okay, and then Deborah Blocks.
I like this painting again. It got in because it's so truly Fauvism and surprising palette, super fresh. Got out of the painting in time. I like this painting. Didn't wreck it.
Okay, and then Joyce Smith's.
This painting is also looks so much better in real life. This palette in person is much richer and bluer. It's got nice thick and thin marks. There's a lot of playing in this painting. It's got a nice palette. I think that's why I like the palette and the geometry.
Yeah, it's interesting. You did pick a variety of abstract pieces.
Yeah.
It's interesting to see the range of work that you chose. This is Cheryl
Yeah.
Burris's work.
This painting looked great in the gallery. Maybe it needed some varnish. It looked a little dry on the surface. But my gosh, what a great palette. I love the golden light. It sat behind the band, like nearby the band. And every time I looked over it, I was glad that it was a big painting because when I looked at this online, I looked at the size and everything. But my gosh, in person, it holds the room. It's got gorgeous light in it. Very nice light.
Okay, and then Eleanor Gladys.
Nice painting, fresh. Again, the mark making in this, the palette is very successful.
And Ping Kong's.
Very Matissean. I love the playfulness and color. Very original sense of light. It has a nice mood in it. And sometimes you see this kind of palette, you think, there's a feeling in this kind of palette that I like. It's nice.
This was an 8x10, but it really worked. It worked
it works. Yeah.
I mean, it really was quite nice. And then Paula Stearns.
I like the freshness and I like the saturation in it. I love the orange and blue relationship. I like that it was so bold.
Okay. And then Debbie Ryder's.
Very natural palette, nicely organized, and nice structure on the foreground. There's some nice softening of the edges. So it's a pretty flat painting, but there's nice rhythms in it. It's nicely done.
And then Gloria Solomon's.
I love this subject. I've painted 100 parking garage paintings. I just like this, I wouldn't say I've chose a lot of paintings for their subject matter in this show, obviously, but I relate. I love this kind of concrete world. I just personally liked it. I thought it was well managed, and seeing it in person, seeing the size, I thought it's a well managed painting with all those angles, all those whites, all those choices. It's very nice.
Okay. And then Matthias Weiner's.
Very fresh painterly. This is another painting that looks so much better in person because you can see all the details and the change of brush mark sizes, thick and thin, transparency, opacity. I mean, this painting has a lot of complementary situations in it.
And then this one, Tanya Kadachi's.
Very fresh, good palette, very nice.
Okay. And Rita Corwin's.
Again, has the golden light. It's very bold. It's abstract, but it's very fresh. I was looking for those marks.
And then Helen Woods.
I like this painting. Again, well organized, simple, not a very big painting, but it has enough layers of space in it. It's very fresh.
And then Paul,
Oh yeah. I like this one. This reminds me of a lot of my own work in some ways because I love to like have a long horizontal and then I like to put scaffolding above it, in a very like platonic flat way with no foreshortening, like everything is kind of flattened out. I like this. It's this kind of idea of like painting these beautiful little skeletons on top of a sky. It's satisfying. I like it. And I also love that it's a long horizontal and the scale changes behind underneath the landscape. It's got a lot of good stuff in it.
and a lot of good varieties of ideas in this show.
Yes. Oh yeah.
This is
This is very skilled painting. Rich, very nicely handled. Nice palette, very nice.
it's a watercolor as well, which
Yeah.
is
Oh, is it? Yeah, yes, that's right. It is a watercolor. Yeah.
really
Very nicely painted.
masterfully done. And
Yes.
this is David Allen's Rainy Day.
This funny, like this compressed, not interesting. I mean the image, but like this is quite a nice large painting. Nice when you stand in front of it. It's got a lot of nice details in it. I like the spirit of a daytime painting that's gray. I love that you would paint a rainy day that's gray and then show the reflections. It's got good stuff in it. My studio is like a block from there. So I like see this all the time. I haven't painted that. I mean, I used to paint Silver Spring all the time. That's a lot, but I looked at it and I was like, I like this painting. Just naturally, I had bias.
No, it's a beauty. It's beautifully composed.
Yes.
Again, one of these gridded paintings where you're really looking in between the grids and then seeing vignetted paintings.
Yeah, yeah.
You're getting more than
I
just.
I liked how the satellite and the dishes up there fit very nicely underneath the dark. So there's those little coins that are up there. The dishes sit nicely underneath that dark shape, which is a nice echo. If you look, there's a nice pattern going up to that repeatedly. It's very stable painting. It's much better in person. It's quite large.
Yeah, it's a good one. And then
yes, it is.
Marquise.
Salad. I mean, I love a sky like that. I love when color in the sky surprises me. I was surprised by the color. I like the palette of this painting very much.
And then Jim Plotkins.
I love the spirit of the mark making, the abstraction. Again, didn't use the black line too much, which is something I look for because this object, the black line closes off some of the space and then the object opens up again to the space. It's a nice flow in this coming and going. And it's very painterly.
And then Stacy Yoakams.
This is a beautiful painting. And it's a mixed media, and I guess it has tissue paper on it, but it has a really delicate quality to it. Again, this is another painting you have to put in some place. Like, I don't mean above your toilet, but like if you just look at a painting with this kind of surface, it takes some of the wind out of your day. It just chills you out a little bit. I looked at this painting a lot. It was interesting how this painter used transparency and paint mixed with tissue paper or some mylar and to show the water and then painted on top of the mylar to put the pattern back on top of it. There was a lot of invention and originality in how this painting was made. I've never seen this necessarily quite like this before. It was very nice.
And then Jennifer Howard's.
Nice painting. Holds the wall. And size is really nice about this painting. This painting needs a bigger wall. This painting needs some space by itself. It's quite intense palette. Very nice.
Beauty. And then Jane.
Oh yeah. Beautifully marked, fresh. I love the composition, how this bent branch is compressed down into this horizontal. There's a little, I don't want to say a drama, but there's definitely kind of an undulation and rhythm in this painting. Very nice. Nothing else like this in the show with the palette and this composition. It's a strange painting, and I mean that in a good way.
And then Jenny Klein's.
Yes. So fresh, so natural, very nice painting.
And then Madame Greenwald.
This is for the palette. I love the intensity of the palette. I like the construction, and it's got nice marks.
And then Penny Smith.
Oh yeah, if this painting was like had another 20 inches on it, it could have won. This painting is a little bit smaller, but beautifully painted. I love the marks in this. This is a very satisfying kind of painting. I like this kind of painting. The back horizon line comes and goes. The front edges come and go. The painting is coming and going. And, yes, it looks like a shoreline or something else, but it just feels like this is the kind of painting that when you stand in front of it, it has a sense of space in it. Because the surface is coming and going with the tensions. It's nice. It's very nice.
You feel the energy in this one.
Yes. Yeah.
Which is really the power of that water is something.
Yes.
Yeah, I
yeah.
agree.
There's some beautiful shifts. Like if you look at that edge of that shift, there's nice adjustments. It's not just the one blue to green all the way across. It's a lot of little adjustments, even from the left side to the right side to the earth tone in the middle of the foreground. Like there's shifting all the time from the left to the right. I mean, there's some really good painterly aspects to this paint. Like a painter was aware of the transitions while having a flat subject almost.
And
It's very
then
nice.
Carol Marburger.
Yes. I like this painting because it was strange and unique. And, I like a little surrealism or fantasy in my paintings. Interesting.
And then this one, Jeannie Piles.
This is another one my son pointed out. He liked this one. Again, this is an intense little painting. Pretty solid. It's got some good qualities to it.
And then this is Deborah Halperns.
Very beautifully painted. Good touch, good mark.
And then Renee Lockman.
I was very fond of this one.
These are our honorable mentions.
Honorable mention. Yes, that's an honorable mention. Yeah. I like this painting. Again, you talk about if this painting had another 20 inches on it, not to say, I think this is a beautiful painting. I was really impressed by this painter's marks. I liked a little bit of the highlight on the trunk. This painting also comes and goes. The left side is not the same as the right. It's not flat at all, but yet it's a very flat image in the sense the space is compressed. But there's a lot of little tensions in it and adjustments. And I like this painting. This is one of the paintings I thought of when I closed the computer at the end of the day. This one stuck with me. It's a very nice mark. Very good mark. Very good mark.
Okay. And then this is the other honorable mention.
Love it. This painting just personally appealed to me. I love the mark. It's a watercolor. I love cobalt blue and ultramarine. I love when blue can occupy painting and it doesn't have to be brown. So many people paint trees brown and green, and I just think that's so boring. I love when I see a blue tree and I go, yeah, that's how I've seen that blue tree. Thank you for showing it to me again. It's very natural while having a kind of saturation and a kind of beautiful blue. So this painting rewards the viewer a lot with this richness. It's nice.
And then, I just hit
Oopsie.
Go back here. This is Joni Grossfeld, another honorable mention.
Beautiful palette, beautiful mark making. I zoomed in on this one. I looked at all the marks. It just looked like a painter, a really passionate painter with beautiful palette. I love the little sense of that green and yellow in the foreground. The painting is dissolved. It comes and goes. It has a kind of Bonnardian quality to it that I just kind of was like feeling it a little bit. I like it.
And then this is by Stephen.
Yeah, I saw this painting in the gallery and I loved it. I like the picture of it, but again, it's not small. It's a little bit bigger than, it's like a medium-sized one. It's a very successful painting. I love when the painter brings a little something extra to the world, and it doesn't have to be a depiction of life or realism. It can go into a kind of a conception of like a moment or a dream or a feeling. I love this. It's like a little Oreo bird on it, and the bed's pulled back like somebody got out, but they haven't put their shoes on. There's some mystery in this painting, and I even like the geometry from the left to the right side, nicely composed. The fabric was very fresh. I like this painting.
Yeah, this was one that interested me, particularly because it had almost like the hidden image or hidden meaning.
Yes, but also look at but it has a hidden meaning. But look at the very particular angle of the shoe in relationship to the blanket, and then there's a little like interesting use of angles in this. It's like something's there, and you're like, what is this mystery? It's a very successful painting. I also like the fact that the left side the right side is dissolving and the right side is sharper, showing the light transitioning in this little small space. Like it's a little compressed place, but you see the exact origin of the light going from left to right. And that's a very powerful kind of element in this painting, that the light is going into the shadow and then it's here a little bit more intense.
Yeah, this is quite interesting. And
It
then
is.
this is Patrick Siegs.
This is a solid painting. I liked it because of its composition. I also liked the palette. I liked the use of the color, and it was just solid. It just felt like a really solid painter made this, and I liked the light in it. And it looks better. Again, this one looks way better in person, you know, because green is so hard to show in a computer screen. Green looks so much more natural sometimes in a painting. So
Yeah,
I like this painting.
there's a lot of beautiful mixing of greens in this.
Oh yeah, oh yeah, and I like the dog too.
Yeah. Okay, and then the next one is
Oh yeah,
now this is our third place winner.
yeah, number 3.
Morris.
I like this painting. I mean, it appeals to me on a personal level. Like one of the things I like to do in my own work, I call them like man in box. Like I paint like little booths, like that are just alone in parking lots with like a flat parking lot around them. I think that I love a single piece of architecture in the landscape that's for one person. And so I love miniature architecture. And then I also like the foreboding nature of this dark sky pressing down. And what's so funny about this one in my conception of this illumination, not that it's the same sense, but like sometimes when I see this kind of light, I think it's like a kind of mid-century idea where you strobe a flash onto the subject matter, and it's anything you see is where the light strobes, you know, and then everything else is dissipated into the ether. And I looked at this one and I kind of liked the sense that it looked like where the light is coming from, right? We're only where we're standing. And I like that method in painting where like the light is radiating from the subject. I mean, the light is radiating from the person in the painting, and then everything that's kind of get further away is dissipating. Does that make sense a little bit? I thought this was a spooky, beautiful painting. I like that we don't see the portraits. I like that there's 2 people walking together. This is a very successful painting. This is a painting could use the correct kind of varnish, because there was a lot of information in the sky and some parts that were being lost because dark paints and black paints kind of dry out. But this is an excellent painting. I was very confident about this painting. This is great.
Okay, and then this is the second place. McManus.
Another beautiful painting. This is another one I saw, and here's it's so funny. Like this was like the number 2 image or number 2 image in the feed, and I was like, I chose it right away. I was like, I like this, and I was like, but I might have prejudice because it's the first one I saw, but it stuck with me. I like the vagueness. I like vague, complete. It has a little payoff, and then there's a secondary space behind it. So there's this like little jewel of light, and then the deep space is right above it. We don't see it, perhaps. We go up to it. I spoke to her. I emailed her. I said, put a little good varnish on this painting. Like you're hiding so many good colors in the dryness, because again, the method she's using maybe some mineral spirits or something, and the painting got a little dry. This is a beautiful painting. This is the kind of painting I would put in a room that I had to walk by all the time, because it's a mysterious painting. I like it.
So when you varnish your paintings, what varnish?
Yeah.
What do you use?
I use a recipe that's it's a really good recipe that's been passed down from another person. So what I use is I use the Winsor Newton, I use the satin and the gloss, and I mix them perfectly together 50-50, and I shake that up because the satin part has a little bit of wax in it. And then I do a 50-50 and make sure it's equally part, and then I add back 10% of the gloss back into that. So it just pushes, it's not shiny, it just pushes it. And I find it to be very clear. I make really dark paintings. And so obviously the wax settles in it. I've gone up to 20% of gloss. If I have to put a painting in a really dark restaurant or something, I'll put a little bit more gloss in it. But I think it's the most natural finish I've ever seen. I know a bunch of artists who use it. I got it from a person at one of the galleries I work with. He shared it with me, and it's changed my life because it's a really good recipe. And I try to share it with everybody I can, because we should see everybody's work clearer, and dark colors dry out, and we need to keep them vital so that we can enjoy these works.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, and then the number 1. This is Legos.
Oh yeah, this is definitely the winner for me. I'm confident about that. And when I saw it in person, I knew it was the winner. I was assured. I was sure of it. The mark making, the rhythm, the sense of getting out of the painting. I like the tabletop. I love the geometry, that blue book coming up, setting the foreground up, then going to the circle, then going to the yellow chair. I just saw like a musical piece here. The gray mixing on the left side is different than the right side, so there's a nice adjustment of the space. The use of blue underneath the piano. I mean, in general, we were talking about Dufy. I'm not a Dufy guy, but I definitely think that kind of the Matissean sensibility of a domestic place should be painted like it's a domestic place. It should have a sense of comfort. You paint a place with a sense of feeling, and I loved how this painting had a sense of feeling in it, like a place. And I also felt like I saw the painter in it. I mean, if you zoom in on that tabletop and on the surface, there's so many kinds of mark making, caressing, jabbing, slapping, tapping. I like that. That's we need to see more of that, actually. I mean, I think that, and then you have to get out of it. And I feel like the painter got out of it. She didn't linger on this painting and didn't come back and like fudge it up and mindlessly masturbate the surface away because it was so fresh. It was like she kept it fresh and then she got out of it and separated from it. And I think it's a representation of like the kind of vitality I love in a painting. It shows the painter like it's a document of the marks.
She's such a unique painter. I mean, when we look at
Mm.
ideas, I mean,
Mhm.
this is one of the things that I think when people are trying to aspire to be artists, keep in mind what the artist means, which is
Mm.
there's no one like you.
Mm.
You're really trying to make your own ideas, and I
Mhm.
think that it's harder to make your own ideas than it is to follow somebody else, and I
That's
think
true.
this is one of the things that I think Susan brings to her work.
I
Well,
know.
Trevor, I think we covered them all.
We did it. Yes, we did.
I'm going to go back to you now and just ask you, are there any other things you'd like to say before we end this?
Well, I mean, I had a wonderful welcome. The crew of Yellow Barn members. I like to think it's a school, but it's actually more of a club. And the club has a standard, like you show up because there's learning to be had, but there's actually an attitudinal way of living. We were talking about the philosophical way of being a painter, meaning it's not enough just to come and learn. You're actually saying, I'm practicing a mentality. And I think that that's really organic. And I think we're getting neutered all the time by technology and phones taking away our ability to touch. And I think that the school, the Yellow Barn School, represents a philosophical attitude. And I think you represent that, meaning this is how we deal with this situation called painting. And we could get into it more heavily some other time, but it is an attitude. It's not just making a picture.
No, and what we see with this community, which I'm really happy after, with you being around when we first started this place, because you
Mm.
spent many years in that painting the models and things like that.
Yeah.
As a correct, your mom used to model.
She was an amazing model, yes. She bring the canoes in and she bring goldfish in and
Oh yeah,
she's far out. She was far out. Here's the other thing, she would model all the way through the class and not take a break.
yeah. She's and I think that so our going back, seeing what the Yellow Barn has become,
Yeah.
I'm so happy and so proud that it's reached what I had
Oh
hoped
yeah.
for it to. And I think
Yeah.
that looking at you as a product of that place, all right, and how
It
you
is. Mhm.
success, I think speaks really highly of the fact that we were able to offer, I guess, just the ability to get you started on your way.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. You planted it on me. I told you planted in me when I was 15. Like I think that when you go out into the creative ether, like the world, a lot of people are pushing ideas and dogma on the artist's freedom. I think a lot of teachers are dogmatic and in the sense that like they think they know what's best, and that's not how we do this. And I think that ultimately you kind of have to have a core freedom in the beginning so that you can't, because I think a lot of teachers stunt the creative juices by creating kinds of rules that prevent you from standing up and getting to work because you feel like you're not doing it the right way. But it's actually just standing up and getting to work is the first hardest thing. And have the liberty and the freedom to just get up and be like, I'm going to make a painting about blue because I respond to blue, or likeness. And we're talking about imagery. It's like it's down the list. And I think first you choose color because ultimately the color is the feeling. And I don't know, like when I see a tube of yellow, I'm like, I want to put it into something. And it doesn't mean it has to be yellow. It's just the sensation of yellow. And I think that you gave that to me because as soon as you tap into color and its power, you create feelings and moods and memories. And And I think that we've talked about so many painters endlessly. We could go down the list of all the painters you introduced to me. But I remember one time early on, you showed me a Wayne Thiebaud white rabbit on the table, and you showed me that this white is light, and you showed me how he dissolved the edge of the rabbit, and you said he's showing you how the light. This is the white. The light is white, and he's dissolving this rabbit. And I was like, whoa, So
Yeah,
I was like, oh, that's yeah. I'm sorry, what?
it's an amazing painting.
It is, and the prints, all of it. And here's the thing: he puts a little blue shadow, and I was like, that's a powerful, powerful image. That's a powerful painting, and it's so little. There's so little there.
Well, having you today was just a real pleasure, Trevor. Okay,
Thank you.
I know that everybody's going to get a lot out of this this presentation and this review that we've had. You really summed up. You did a nice job with everybody's work.
Thank you.
There were a lot of magnificent pieces. Definitely could have been award winners.
Mhm.
There were a lot that you couldn't pick. All right, as
Yeah.
well. I think that's the other aspect for everyone that perhaps entered the show but didn't get in. Just keep in mind it's a challenge. All right,
Sorry.
Juror, and I think if anything, I just want to say you did a great job. I know everybody's impressed with last night to talk about everything, how it went, and you being there, be able to talk to everybody.
You.
So with that, I'm going to say good night to everybody, right? And thank you because you spent the time with us today. All right.
It's wonderful to be welcome back to the Yellow Barn and have such a feeling of how it was 30 years ago. I mean, it's like a kind of, I told you before, it's a club, it's not a school. It's like an attitude at the school of like, and like a motorcycle driver leads a motorcycle gang, but he leads the pack because of the attitude. He's not, it's like a kind of mentality of riding together. And I think that's what you did. Like you kind of set the attitude for a club to ride on it, and we would be riding with you and you set an attitude. And I think that's it's a thing you don't find. It's a rare thing to find. It's not dogmatic. That's the thing. The Yellow Barn is not a dogmatic place.
Yeah, well, it's one of those unique places, that's for sure.
It is.
Without you, I would have never been able to do it. So just so you know, you were one of the instruments that helped me get that place.
You had a lot. You've had legions of dedicated students, and people I meet up with former students are like, do you remember when Mr. Bartman said this? Do you remember when he did this? And I'd be like, yes, I remember that. I don't remember that. But it's like, like in an aspect, you were always dropping nuggets on everyone, and you were alert and very organic. And I think in the sense that like you didn't teach a style, you definitely showed us the way to make marks. That was one of the things I think that another competitor at school at another school would be like, all those Barton students paint alike. And my attitude was like, yeah, for now. Yeah. Like for now, like we're teenagers, it's like, yeah, we got it's yes, we're teenagers. Yes, we paint a lot like Mr. Bartman because we never saw painting before Mr. Bartman. So I think that that's an attitudinal thing, meaning painting has to be seen. It can't be verbally taught. It has to be witnessed. I witnessed you paint. I saw freshness and light, and that's where I am now.
And I think that's speaks well of what you've achieved with your own ideas as well. And I think that's exactly what, when we had that program, we wanted to happen. So with that, I'm going to say good night to everybody. I want everybody to have a great holiday. And thank you, Trevor, for.
Thank you, Mr. Bartman.
This amazing review. All right.
Thank you.
All right.
Have a good night.